Imagine a place so intensely bright, so perpetually observed that even a whisper feels amplified, a shadow scrutinized. Times Square, New York City, stands as a glittering testament to human ambition, a nexus of millions of eyes, countless cameras, and an endless stream of digital information. It is, by all accounts, one of the most surveilled, most public spaces on Earth. Yet 25 years ago, this very heart of urban life committed an act of impossible erasure. 12 young American students on what should have been an unforgettable school tour in 1999 stepped into its dazzling spectacle and were quite simply swallowed whole. One moment, their youthful excitement filled the air. The next, an inexplicable void. They vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the chilling echo of their unexplained absence, a mystery that would haunt a nation for decades. For their parents, those 25 years were an agonizing silence, a relentless, unanswered question marking every sunrise and sunset. For the nation, it was a cold case that defied every logical explanation, turning an iconic crossroads, once a vibrant symbol of dreams and opportunity, into a landscape synonymous with a baffling, unresolved tragedy. The sheer audacity of such a disappearance in such a location stretched the boundaries of belief, becoming a modern urban legend whispered in hushed tones. How could 12 individuals, amidst the cacophony and constant motion of Times Square, simply cease to be? The investigations yielded nothing, the theories piled up, but no concrete answers ever emerged, leaving the case to gather dust in the annals of unsolved mysteries. Then, a quarter-century later, the very street that claimed them offered a new, terrifying twist, shattering the long-held quiet with a sudden, inexplicable jolt. Amidst the relentless, modern bustle of Times Square, as if plucked from thin air, their school bags appeared, intact, untouched by time, These relics of a distant past, containing forgotten notebooks filled with adolescent scribbles, textbooks with dog-eared pages, and childhood trinkets frozen in their original state, resurfaced amidst the contemporary flow of life. It was a discovery that not only reawakened old wounds, but ignited a fresh wave of desperate questions, tearing open a case that had long been resigned to history. The immediate implications were staggering. Where had these bags been for 25 years? How could they reappear, seemingly pristine, in the exact location of the disappearance? More critically, if their belongings could return, what about the students themselves? This isn't just a story of missing persons. It's a profound challenge to our understanding of time, space, and the very fabric of reality. It forces us to confront the unsettling possibility that some phenomena operate entirely outside our known scientific principles, that the world holds secrets far stranger and more complex than we dare to imagine. This isn't just about a cold case heating up. It's about an impossible event demanding an impossible explanation. We are about to embark on a journey that delves into the depths of this enigma, exploring the human impact of such an unfathomable loss, examining the scientific and philosophical implications of an object's inexplicable return, and grappling with the chilling questions that arise when the familiar world suddenly behaves in ways that are anything but. This story is a stark reminder that even in our hyper-connected, thoroughly documented world, the truly inexplicable can still emerge, forcing us to question everything we thought we knew. To truly grasp the profound shock and enduring mystery surrounding the disappearance, one must first rewind to the specific temporal and spatial tapestry of New York City in 1999. This was a metropolis on the cusp of a new millennium, yet still retaining vestiges of an earlier era. Times Square, while certainly a magnet for tourists and already undergoing significant revitalization efforts, had not yet fully transformed into the hyper-sanitized, perpetually monitored entertainment district we know today. Its digital billboards, though impressive, were fewer and less omnipresent. not yet forming the all-encompassing visual symphony that defines it now. Pockets of a grittier, less polished urban landscape still existed, offering fleeting moments of anonymity that are virtually impossible to find in its current incarnation. Crucially, the technological infrastructure of surveillance was vastly different. Security cameras were certainly present, but they were fewer in number, often of lower resolution, and largely disconnected, operating in isolated silos rather than forming a cohesive, intelligent network. The concept of a pervasive, integrated digital panopticon, where every face is potentially catalogued and every movement traced, was still a distant, almost futuristic notion. Furthermore, personal communication devices were nascent. The ubiquitous smartphone, with its embedded GPS, high-definition camera, and instant connectivity, was still years away from widespread adoption. Students traveling in 1999 relied on landlines, designated meeting points, and the vigilance of their chaperones, a stark contrast to the constant digital tether that defines modern group excursions. This pre-digital landscape meant that individuals could, in theory, simply slip through the cracks of observation in ways unimaginable today, leaving behind no digital breadcrumbs, no geotagged photos, no last-seen social media updates. The very nature of school trips to the city also contributed to the underlying framework of the enigma. For many students from smaller towns or suburban settings, a visit to New York City was often framed as a grand adventure, a taste of exhilarating independence under the watchful, yet necessarily distributed, eyes of educators. While chaperones meticulously planned itineraries and implemented buddy systems, the sheer scale and sensory overload of Times Square itself presented a unique challenge. In the bustling throngs, where individual faces blur into a river of humanity, a momentary lapse in attention, a brief separation from the group could feel like an eternity, and in this specific instance, proved to be something far more sinister. The inherent trust in public safety, the unspoken assumption that in such a visible, populated area, nothing truly catastrophic could occur without immediate witness, was irrevocably shattered. Indeed, the historical context of disappearances, while rarely involving such a large group in such a public place, offers a chilling backdrop. The human psyche has long grappled with the phenomenon of individuals vanishing without a trace, even in seemingly mundane environments. From the lore of the missing person in remote wildernesses to the more unsettling accounts of individuals disappearing from urban centers, the unknown always provokes a particular dread. However, these instances typically involve single individuals or smaller groups, and seldom in an environment as globally recognized and seemingly impenetrable to such an event as Times Square. The unique confluence of a highly public setting, a large group, and the era's limited surveillance capabilities created a perfect storm for an unsolved mystery, cementing its place in the annals of urban legend long before the digital age made every anomaly a viral sensation. The sheer audacity of the event, defying the very logic of visibility, became its most haunting characteristic. The sudden, inexplicable reappearance of the school bags, seemingly untouched by the passage of a quarter-century, immediately plunged the investigation into an unprecedented forensic paradox. Imagine the challenge: evidence that is simultaneously 25 years old, and yet appears as if it was dropped yesterday. Standard forensic analysis relies heavily on the principles of degradation, environmental impact, and the predictable decay of organic and inorganic materials over time. However, these bags defied every one of those expectations. There was no dust accumulation consistent with long-term storage, no fading of fabric under UV exposure, no water damage, no insect infestation, and critically, no perceptible signs of the subtle wear and tear that even a sealed container would endure over 2.5 decades. This pristine condition wasn't merely surprising, it was a direct affront to established scientific understanding, forcing investigators to discard conventional methodologies and grapple with a phenomenon that simply shouldn't exist. Moreover, the technological leap between 1999 and the present day offered a bewildering suite of new tools to examine this anachronistic evidence. In 1999, DNA analysis was still relatively nascent, often requiring larger samples and yielding less comprehensive profiles. Today, however, techniques like touch DNA, mitochondrial DNA sequencing, and advanced forensic genealogy can extract incredibly detailed genetic information from even the faintest epidermal cells or hair fragments. Furthermore, the advent of spectral analysis could scrutinize ink composition, paper fibers, and even the unique microscopic striations on plastic items within the bags, potentially revealing hidden clues or confirming the precise moment of their last handling. The very act of reappearance presented a unique, clean slate for modern forensic science, allowing for an analysis of 1999-era items with 2024 capabilities, a scenario previously confined to the realm of speculative fiction. This extraordinary event consequently introduced a profound conceptual challenge. How does one classify, let alone investigate, an occurrence that seems to violate the fundamental laws of physics? The bags return, complete with their contents, without any discernible mechanism of transport or preservation, immediately brought forth discussions not just of criminal activity, but of more esoteric possibilities. Researchers and the public alike began to ponder localized temporal distortions, spontaneous materialization, or even highly advanced, unknown forms of displacement. While these concepts are generally confined to theoretical physics or science fiction, the sheer impossibility of the situation demanded a broader consideration of what might be possible beyond our current understanding. The conventional who, what, when, where, why of criminal investigation suddenly found itself struggling to answer the how in a way that defied all known scientific principles. Within these remarkably preserved bags lay not just general notebooks and trinkets, but specific intimate snapshots of adolescent lives. Consider the potential data: a half-finished math homework assignment, its ink still vibrant, a carefully folded note passed between friends, its creases sharp, a compact disc, perhaps a mixtape, its surface unmarred by scratches. These weren't merely objects, they were vessels of forgotten information, each demanding meticulous scrutiny. A specific brand of pen, a particular type of paper, even the unique manufacturing flaws of a mass-produced trinket could, under modern forensic examination, provide micro-contextual clues that were utterly undetectable a quarter-century ago. The items themselves became paradoxical artifacts, simultaneously ordinary and utterly extraordinary, offering a unique window into a moment frozen in time. The emotional reverberations for the families, of course, were cataclysmic, a renewed wave of anguish distinct from the initial grief of loss. For 25 years they had grappled with an absence, a void. The return of the bags, however, transformed that void into a cruel, tantalizing presence. It wasn't closure, it was the opposite. It was a reopening of wounds, a reawakening of desperate hope, intertwined with an even deeper, more bewildering terror. The objects, once mundane possessions, became tangible specters, whispering of lives abruptly interrupted. This renewed trauma was compounded by the global spotlight, as the world watched, transfixed, by a mystery that defied not just resolution, but explanation itself. The very fabric of their reality, already torn by the initial disappearance, was now irrevocably shredded by this impossible return. Ultimately, the reappearance of these bags in Times Square represents more than just a renewed cold case. It is a profound challenge to our collective understanding of physical evidence, the limits of scientific inquiry, and the very nature of reality. It forces us to confront the unsettling notion that some events may simply defy conventional explanation, operating on principles yet unknown to human comprehension. The sheer fact that these objects could manifest as they did, after so long in such a public place, without any logical precursor, fundamentally alters our perception of what constitutes a fact and how we approach the truly inexplicable. It demands an intellectual humility, pushing the boundaries of our investigative and scientific frameworks into uncharted, unsettling territory. The precise moment of discovery, a seemingly innocuous Tuesday morning, added yet another layer of chilling improbability to the already bizarre unfolding narrative. It wasn't a meticulous search, nor a planned excavation, but rather the accidental brush of a street cleaner's broom against a peculiar anomaly near the bustling TKTS booth, right in the very heart of Times Square. There, nestled almost deliberately between a vendor cart and a perpetually flashing billboard, sat the first bag. Its vibrant, almost neon green fabric, a popular style from the late 90s, stood out starkly against the gritty urban pavement, drawing an immediate, bewildered gaze. Within minutes, the remaining 11 bags were located, not strewn haphazardly, but arranged in a tight, almost intentional cluster, as if carefully placed and then abruptly abandoned. This wasn't a casual discard, it was a deliberate, yet utterly inexplicable manifestation. The initial response from law enforcement was a study in controlled chaos. The immediate area was cordoned off, not just for forensic preservation, but to manage the swirling vortex of public curiosity and media frenzy that instantly erupted. What began as a routine call about abandoned property rapidly escalated into a full-scale, multi-agency operation, drawing in not only the NYPD, but also federal authorities, and, crucially, a highly specialized task force assembled specifically to tackle the unique challenges of this temporal anomaly. Their first priority extended beyond typical crime scene protocols. It involved establishing a precise timeline of the bag's re-emergence, examining every available surveillance feed from the preceding hours and days. Yet, in a testament to the event's truly baffling nature, not a single camera, from the omnipresent digital eyes of Times Square to the more discreet security lenses of nearby businesses, captured any discernible moment of their arrival. They simply were. Investigators found themselves grappling with a new lexicon for evidence analysis. The term temporal signature quickly entered their operational vocabulary. This wasn't about identifying a suspect's DNA or a weapon's ballistic imprint. It was about deciphering the non-existent aging process of the artifacts. They meticulously catalogued the absence of environmental degradation, no dust motes from the intervening years, no micro-abrasions from wind and weather, no molecular changes consistent with 25 years of exposure to the urban environment. This negative evidence became a primary focus, forcing scientists to search for what wasn't there, a task far more perplexing than analyzing what is. The very lack of expected deterioration became the most compelling and terrifying piece of the puzzle. Delving into the contents of the bags offered another dimension of this temporal distortion. Consider the specific details. A half-eaten lollipop stick, its sugary residue still sticky, yet showing no signs of mold or desiccation. A dog-eared copy of a popular young adult novel from 1999, its pages crisp and yellowed only as much as one would expect from a book read a few times, not one left to the elements for decades. A single perfectly preserved disposable camera, its film roll intact, waiting to be developed. Each item, seemingly mundane, became a profound anomaly. Forensic specialists, working in sterile, controlled environments, were tasked with analyzing these objects not just for fingerprints or DNA, but for any microscopic trace that might betray their hidden journey, any subtle energy signature or exotic material that could hint at an unknown method of transport or preservation. The unprecedented nature of the case necessitated an equally unprecedented collaboration. It quickly became apparent that traditional law enforcement methods, while essential for the initial groundwork, were insufficient to unravel a mystery that seemed to defy the known laws of physics. Consequently, the task force expanded to include a diverse array of scientific minds: theoretical physicists from leading universities, experts in quantum mechanics, chronobiologists studying the effects of time on matter, and even astrobiologists pondering the implications of such an event for our understanding of the universe. This convergence of disciplines, typically siloed, underscored the profound shift in the investigation's scope. It was no longer merely a search for missing persons. It was a desperate quest to understand an entirely new, terrifying phenomenon that had manifested in the most public of arenas, shaking the very foundations of empirical knowledge. The reappearance of the students' school bags, defying all known physical laws, immediately rippled far beyond the immediate investigation, fundamentally altering humanity's collective understanding of reality itself. Consider for a moment the profound psychological effect on the average citizen. What happens when the bedrock of predictable physics, the very framework that underpins our daily existence, gravity, time, matter, is demonstrably breached in a globally recognizable public space? It creates a pervasive, unsettling sense of vulnerability, a nagging doubt that the world we inhabit is far less stable and comprehensible than we once believed. People began to question their own perceptions, to scrutinize the mundane with a newfound, almost paranoid curiosity. A simple walk through a crowded street, once a routine act, now carried the subconscious weight of an unknown possibility, a chilling awareness that the familiar could, at any instant, betray its nature. This event didn't just challenge scientists, it shook the very foundations of individual security and societal trust in the tangible world. Furthermore, the scientific community, initially engaged in the forensic analysis of the anomaly, found itself confronting an existential crisis. This wasn't merely a new discovery. It was a direct refutation of established dogma, akin to finding a perpetual motion machine or witnessing the spontaneous creation of mass. Decades, even centuries, of theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, and cosmology suddenly faced the possibility of being incomplete or perhaps entirely misguided. Leading journals became battlegrounds for competing hypotheses, ranging from speculative theories of wormholes and parallel dimensions to radical reinterpretations of space-time itself. Funding priorities shifted dramatically, diverting resources into areas previously considered fringe, as researchers scrambled to formulate new paradigms capable of accommodating this impossible event. The very process of scientific inquiry, traditionally reliant on observation, experimentation, and reproducibility, was forced to contend with an incident that seemingly materialized outside of any controlled environment, leaving behind only its baffling aftermath. Beyond the academic and scientific realms, the incident sparked a widespread societal re-evaluation of the unknown. It ignited fervent debates in philosophical circles, prompting renewed discussions on determinism versus free will, the nature of consciousness, and humanity's place in a universe suddenly revealed to be far more enigmatic. For many, it triggered a resurgence of interest in ancient myths, supernatural phenomena, and esoteric knowledge, searching for explanations in narratives that had long been dismissed by rational thought. Conversely, for others, it fostered a deeper, almost spiritual awe, an acknowledgement of cosmic mysteries that dwarfed human comprehension. This wasn't merely a news story. It became a cultural touchstone, a shared moment of collective bewilderment that permeated art, literature, and popular media, reflecting humanity's desperate need to make sense of the incomprehensible. Moreover, the geopolitical implications began to surface, albeit subtly at first. If an unknown force or phenomenon was capable of such temporal or spatial manipulation, what did that mean for national security, global power dynamics, or even humanity's readiness for contact with non-terrestrial intelligence? Governments around the world, initially cautious, quietly initiated their own clandestine research programs, seeking to understand or perhaps even harness such capabilities. The incident transformed the abstract concept of unknown unknowns into a tangible immediate threat or opportunity, depending on one's perspective. It exposed a profound vulnerability, highlighting humanity's collective unpreparedness for events that operate entirely outside our current technological or theoretical grasp, forcing a re-evaluation of international cooperation in the face of truly universal enigmas. This singular event, born from a New York City street, thus became a silent catalyst for a global paradigm shift, compelling societies worldwide to grapple with the unsettling truth that our understanding of the universe might be merely a fragile illusion. The immediate aftermath of the bag's inexplicable reappearance triggered a cascade of public speculation, rapidly giving rise to a host of myths and controversies that threatened to overshadow the painstaking scientific inquiry. Among the most pervasive initial theories was the notion of a clandestine government experiment gone awry, or perhaps a deliberate, concealed manipulation of the students for unknown purposes. However, this popular narrative, often fueled by historical mistrust of official entities, struggled against the stark reality of the event's public visibility. A covert operation on such a scale, involving 12 individuals vanishing from one of the world's most observed locations, would necessitate an unprecedented level of control and subsequent concealment, a logistical impossibility given the hundreds of thousands of witnesses and the subsequent quarter-century of global media scrutiny. The absence of any discernible state-sponsored infrastructure or long-term operational footprint further undermined this particular conspiracy, pushing investigators to look beyond terrestrial human agency. Conversely, another widespread conjecture quickly coalesced around the idea of extraterrestrial intervention. The sheer impossibility of the event, coupled with humanity's enduring fascination with life beyond Earth, made alien abduction a compelling, albeit unsubstantiated, explanation for many. Yet, credible scientific investigation, while open to extraordinary possibilities, demands tangible evidence. No unusual energy signatures were detected at the scene of the reappearance, nor were there any peculiar atmospheric disturbances or unidentifiable aerial phenomena reported in the vicinity during the critical window. The bags themselves, while defying conventional aging, bore no markings or material compositions consistent with advanced alien technology, leaving this theory largely in the realm of speculative fiction for those committed to empirical data. The very nature of the crime itself presented an unparalleled investigative challenge, rendering conventional law enforcement methodologies largely ineffectual. Without a discernible perpetrator, a motive, or even a known mechanism of action, detectives found themselves without a criminal to pursue or a crime to definitively classify. This forced an unprecedented shift from traditional forensic profiling and evidence gathering to a highly specialized form of anomaly analysis, where the absence of expected data became as significant as its presence. The investigation thus transformed into a quest not for who committed the act, but what force or phenomenon was responsible. A fundamental reorientation of investigative purpose that strained existing protocols and required the creation of entirely new analytical frameworks. A particularly confounding obstacle emerged from the paradox of surveillance in Times Square. Despite the area being saturated with an intricate web of high-definition cameras, from public security feeds to private business systems, not a single frame captured the moment of the bag's arrival. This wasn't merely a gap in coverage. It represented a complete void of expected data, leading to a new wave of speculation about cloaking technologies, localized temporal distortions that rendered the objects invisible to recording devices, or even a selective manipulation of reality itself. This absence of visual corroboration in an environment designed for constant observation became a central point of contention, fueling further debate between those seeking conventional explanations and those embracing more radical, physics-defying interpretations. Furthermore, the ethical and emotional controversies surrounding the families of the missing students reached a fever pitch. The reappearance of the bags, while offering a tangible link to their children, simultaneously ignited a raw, agonizing false hope. How could authorities manage the expectations of grieving parents who for decades had endured silence, now faced with an event that promised yet provided no definitive answers about their children's fate? This dilemma created immense pressure on officials to temper sensationalism, while simultaneously pursuing every conceivable lead, however improbable, highlighting the profound responsibility of balancing compassion with the cold, hard realities of an utterly baffling investigation. Finally, the immense financial and intellectual resources being poured into this unprecedented investigation sparked a significant public and political controversy. Critics argued that allocating vast sums to decipher an anomaly that defied all known scientific principles was an irresponsible diversion of funds, especially when countless solvable crimes and pressing societal issues demanded attention. This debate underscored the tension between humanity's insatiable curiosity for the unknown and the pragmatic demands of governance, forcing a difficult public discussion about the value of pursuing answers to questions that might forever remain outside the realm of human comprehension, challenging the very definition of what constitutes a valid problem for scientific and governmental pursuit. When the seemingly impossible intrudes upon the mundane, it doesn't just create a new story, it carves a new fault line in the bedrock of our understanding. The reappearance of those school bags, defying the very laws of entropy and time, serves as a stark, unsettling reminder that our universe is far more complex, far more enigmatic than our current scientific models often suggest. It compels us to confront the humbling truth that the boundaries of our knowledge are not fixed but perpetually expanding, often in ways that challenge our most cherished assumptions. This isn't merely about solving a mystery, it's about recalibrating our entire worldview, forcing a collective re-evaluation of what constitutes reality itself. This profound shift extends beyond the laboratory, touching the very core of human cognition. How do we, as individuals and as a society, process an event that shatters the predictable order of things? It instills a sense of radical uncertainty, a subtle yet pervasive awareness that the familiar world we navigate daily might hold secrets far stranger than we ever dared imagine. Our minds, accustomed to linear progression and cause and effect, suddenly grapple with a phenomenon that seems to bypass these fundamental tenets. It's an invitation, albeit a terrifying one, to embrace the unknown, to sit with discomfort, and to acknowledge the vast stretches of cosmic mystery that lie just beyond the veil of our current comprehension. Yet, in the face of such profound ambiguity, humanity's innate curiosity burns brighter than ever. This isn't a retreat into fear or superstition, but rather a powerful summons to intellectual adventure. It underscores our relentless drive to explore, to question, and to push against the perceived limits of possibility. The very existence of such an anomaly acts as a catalyst for innovation, spurring new lines of scientific inquiry, inspiring speculative thought, and compelling us to develop entirely new frameworks for understanding. The greatest leaps in human knowledge have often sprung from encounters with the inexplicable, compelling us to look beyond established paradigms and forge new paths of discovery. Consider, then, what this implies for our accepted truths. If physical objects can defy temporal decay and spontaneously manifest, what other fundamental principles might be open to reinterpretation? This event demands a profound intellectual humility, urging us to hold our certainties more lightly, to recognize that our current scientific consensus, while robust, is always provisional and subject to revision by new, unprecedented observations. It teaches us that the universe is not obligated to conform to our expectations, and that true wisdom lies in the continuous pursuit of understanding, even when that pursuit leads us to uncomfortable, unanswerable questions. The journey of discovery is often more valuable than the destination, particularly when the destination remains elusive. Indeed, the ripples of such an anomaly stretch into the personal, inviting a similar re-evaluation of our individual lives. How often do we cling to rigid assumptions about our own capabilities, our relationships, or the path our lives are meant to take? The grand mystery of the missing students' bags serves as an abstract yet potent metaphor for the unexpected turns and inexplicable twists that can reshape our personal narratives. It encourages a greater openness to unforeseen possibilities, a willingness to adapt when life presents its own bewildering paradoxes, and a deeper appreciation for the moments of wonder that can emerge from the most perplexing circumstances. It reminds us that growth often begins at the edge of what we thought we knew. Ultimately, the true legacy of such an event might not be a definitive answer, but rather a perpetual question mark etched into the collective human consciousness. It is a testament to the enduring power of the unknown, a silent challenge that will continue to resonate through generations. It asks us to remain ever vigilant, ever curious, and ever prepared to adjust our maps of reality when the universe reveals another one of its breathtaking, bewildering secrets. For it is in these moments, when the fabric of the familiar phrase, that we are truly invited to expand our minds, to embrace the vastness of what we do not yet comprehend, and to find profound meaning in the unending quest for knowledge itself. The sheer impossibility of the bag's reappearance naturally propelled the scientific investigation into realms previously confined to theoretical conjecture. No longer was the focus solely on the student's disappearance, but rather on the unprecedented physical characteristics of their returned belongings. These artifacts became, in essence, a tangible, if baffling, data set, compelling physicists and material scientists to search for micro-anomalies that might betray their hidden journey. Beyond their pristine condition, early analysis of the bag materials revealed subtle yet distinct shifts in their molecular resonance, almost imperceptible alterations in the vibrational frequencies of their polymer chains. This suggested not mere preservation, but an interaction with conditions utterly alien to Earth's atmosphere or conventional storage environments. Further examination uncovered intriguing isotopic ratios within the very fabric of the notebooks and the metals of the zippers. Certain stable isotopes, typically found in predictable abundances, presented minute deviations, hinting at exposure to an energy field or a localized environment unlike anything documented in our current understanding of physics. Imagine finding a common coin with an almost imperceptible, yet statistically significant difference in its elemental composition compared to every other coin ever minted. Such a discovery forces a complete re-evaluation of its origin and journey. These minute discrepancies, while not overtly destructive, represented a profound signature of an unknown process, a whisper from a dimension beyond our grasp. Consequently, the leading theoretical hypotheses began to coalesce around concepts of highly localized space-time distortions or even quantum-level materialization. One compelling theory posits that the bags, and perhaps the students, were momentarily shunted into a pocket of non-linear time, where the conventional flow of cause and effect, and thus the aging process, was suspended or dramatically altered. Another fascinating idea suggests a form of macroscopic quantum entanglement, where the bag's molecular states were somehow locked into their 1999 configuration, then spontaneously decohered back into our reality 25 years later. These aren't just abstract ideas. They are attempts to model an event that defies the very laws governing our physical universe. Building on this, researchers are now actively developing new experimental protocols, pushing the boundaries of instrumentation to detect and measure these theoretical phenomena. Specialized resonance spectrometers, capable of detecting minute shifts in atomic structure, are being deployed to analyze every fiber and speck of dust from the bags, searching for residual energy traces or exotic particles that might have hitched a ride. The challenge lies not only in designing instruments sensitive enough, but also in interpreting data that falls outside any established baseline, requiring a complete rethinking of what constitutes a normal reading. It's akin to trying to hear a silent sound. One must first conceive of its possibility and then invent the means to perceive it. Now consider the profound implications if any of these radical theories prove even partially correct. If localized space-time distortions are possible, what does that mean for our understanding of cosmic travel or even the very nature of consciousness, which we currently believe to be bound by linear time? Such an event would not only rewrite physics textbooks, but could fundamentally alter our philosophical outlook on existence itself. It would suggest that the universe is not merely vast, but infinitely more pliable and mysterious than previously conceived, operating on principles that extend far beyond the four dimensions we readily perceive. It compels us to ponder whether the impossible is merely that which we haven't yet learned to explain, opening doors to scientific frontiers that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. The scientific endeavor, typically founded on principles of reproducibility and observable phenomena, found itself in an unprecedented methodological quagmire. How does one systematically investigate an event that by its very nature appears to defy all known physical laws and occurred spontaneously, without any precursor or observable mechanism? This wasn't merely a complex puzzle. It was a ghost in the machine of empirical research, challenging the very definition of scientific inquiry. Consequently, a novel investigative framework emerged, one that blended traditional forensic rigor with highly speculative theoretical physics, creating a hybrid discipline focused on retrocausal analysis, an attempt to deduce the cause from an effect that should not exist. A significant facet of this unique approach involved the painstaking mapping of the Times Square environment, not just as a crime scene, but as a potential event horizon. Advanced sensor arrays, far more sensitive than standard surveillance equipment, were deployed across the area where the bags materialized. These instruments were designed to detect minute fluctuations in gravitational fields, subtle deviations in the local magnetic field, or any fleeting exotic energy signatures that might have lingered, however briefly, after the object's appearance. The hypothesis posited that while the bags themselves showed no signs of conventional aging, the act of their reappearance might have left an energetic imprint on the surrounding space-time, a transient ripple in the fabric of reality that could perhaps be measured. Furthermore, the computational physics community embarked on an ambitious, albeit fraught, mission to model the impossible. Leveraging cutting-edge supercomputers and advanced artificial intelligence algorithms, teams of researchers began constructing intricate simulations. These models attempted to reverse engineer the event, hypothesizing various non-standard physical mechanisms, such as micro-wormholes collapsing into our dimension or highly localized, transient breaches in the cosmic string theory, and then testing if any of these theoretical constructs could result in the observed phenomenon of instantaneous, pristine materialization. This process was akin to building a bridge without knowing the river, relying entirely on the desired outcome to inform the structural design, an exercise in pure theoretical deduction driven by an unyielding factual anomaly. The psychological toll on the scientists involved was also profound. For individuals whose careers were built upon logical deduction and adherence to established physical laws, confronting an event that directly contradicted their foundational understanding proved deeply unsettling. Many reported a pervasive sense of intellectual vertigo, a feeling that the very ground beneath their epistemological feet had shifted. This forced a collective introspection, prompting leading minds to publicly acknowledge the inherent limitations of current scientific paradigms and to embrace a more radical, open-minded approach to unexplained phenomena. It was a humbling moment for a discipline often perceived as holding all the answers, revealing the vast ocean of what remains unknown. Moreover, the ethical considerations became acutely pronounced. Researchers grappled with the profound responsibility of studying artifacts intrinsically linked to a profound human tragedy. Every analysis, every theoretical breakthrough carried the weight of 12 missing lives. How does one prioritize the pursuit of groundbreaking scientific knowledge when it risks re-traumatizing families with tantalizing yet ultimately inconclusive fragments of hope? This required a delicate balance, establishing strict protocols for information dissemination and ensuring that the scientific quest never overshadowed the compassionate imperative to address the human dimension of the mystery. The scientific method, usually dispassionate, was forced to integrate a profound sense of empathy, navigating a landscape where the pursuit of truth intersected with profound grief. Another crucial layer involved the re-examination of historical accounts of inexplicable disappearances or anomalous object appearances. While previously dismissed as folklore or misinterpretations, these narratives were now scrutinized with renewed scientific interest. Could there be patterns, however faint, in seemingly unrelated historical incidents that, when viewed through the lens of this Times Square event, might reveal a larger, underlying mechanism? This speculative historical analysis, combining rigorous archival research with modern anomaly detection techniques, opened up entirely new avenues of interdisciplinary investigation, striving to connect the seemingly unique occurrence to a broader, perhaps recurring, cosmic phenomenon. It underscored the notion that sometimes the most extraordinary insights are found not in what is new, but in a fresh perspective on what has long been ignored. The scientific endeavor, typically founded on principles of reproducibility and observable phenomena, found itself in an unprecedented methodological quagmire. How does one systematically investigate an event that, by its very nature, appears to defy all known physical laws and occurred spontaneously, without any precursor or observable mechanism? This wasn't merely a complex puzzle. It was a ghost in the machine of empirical research, challenging the very definition of scientific inquiry. Consequently, a novel investigative framework emerged, one that blended traditional forensic rigor with highly speculative theoretical physics, creating a hybrid discipline focused on retrocausal analysis, an attempt to deduce the cause from an effect that should not exist. A significant facet of this unique approach involved the painstaking mapping of the Times Square environment, not just as a crime scene, but as a potential event horizon. Advanced sensor arrays, far more sensitive than standard surveillance equipment, were deployed across the area where the bags materialized. These instruments were designed to detect minute fluctuations in gravitational fields, subtle deviations in the local magnetic field, or any fleeting, exotic energy signatures that might have lingered, however briefly, after the object's appearance. The hypothesis posited that while the bags themselves showed no signs of conventional aging, The act of their reappearance might have left an energetic imprint on the surrounding space-time, a transient ripple in the fabric of reality that could perhaps be measured. Furthermore, the computational physics community embarked on an ambitious, albeit fraught, mission to model the impossible. Leveraging cutting-edge supercomputers and advanced artificial intelligence algorithms, teams of researchers began constructing intricate simulations. These models attempted to reverse engineer the event, hypothesizing various non-standard physical mechanisms, such as micro-wormholes collapsing into our dimension or highly localized transient breaches in the cosmic string theory, and then testing if any of these theoretical constructs could result in the observed phenomenon of instantaneous, pristine materialization. This process was akin to building a bridge without knowing the river, relying entirely on the desired outcome to inform the structural design, an exercise in pure theoretical deduction driven by an unyielding factual anomaly. The psychological toll on the scientists involved was also profound. For individuals whose careers were built upon logical deduction and adherence to established physical laws, confronting an event that directly contradicted their foundational understanding proved deeply unsettling. Many reported a pervasive sense of intellectual vertigo, a feeling that the very ground beneath their epistemological feet had shifted. This forced a collective introspection, prompting leading minds to publicly acknowledge the inherent limitations of current scientific paradigms and to embrace a more radical, open-minded approach to unexplained phenomena. It was a humbling moment, for a discipline often perceived as holding all the answers, revealing the vast ocean of what remains unknown. Moreover, the ethical considerations became acutely pronounced. Researchers grappled with the profound responsibility of studying artifacts intrinsically linked to a profound human tragedy. Every analysis, every theoretical breakthrough, carried the weight of 12 missing lives. How does one prioritize the pursuit of groundbreaking scientific knowledge when it risks re-traumatizing families with tantalizing, yet ultimately inconclusive, fragments of hope? This required a delicate balance, establishing strict protocols for information dissemination and ensuring that the scientific quest never overshadowed the compassionate imperative to address the human dimension of the mystery. The scientific method, usually dispassionate, was forced to integrate a profound sense of empathy, navigating a landscape where the pursuit of truth intersected with profound grief. Beyond the immediate physical analysis, a more audacious line of inquiry delves into the very nature of information and its persistence across potential temporal or dimensional boundaries. Researchers are exploring the theoretical concept of temporal echoes, subtle, transient distortions in local quantum fields that might precede or follow such a major space-time event. Imagine a stone dropped in a pond, not just creating ripples, but also leaving a faint, almost imperceptible tremor in the water before it even hits. New sensor designs, leveraging quantum entanglement principles, aim to detect these hypothetical pre- or post-event signatures, hoping to catch a glimpse of the anomaly's interaction with the fabric of reality beyond its physical manifestation. Such an endeavor fundamentally redefines the scope of forensic science, extending its reach from the tangible to the purely theoretical, in a desperate bid to understand the truly unprecedented. Reflecting on this odyssey of inquiry, we find ourselves at a precipice where the familiar contours of understanding begin to dissolve. The profound anomaly that manifested amidst the ceaseless pulse of a global city has, with its sheer defiance of expectation, carved a new, unsettling groove in the collective human psyche. It is not merely a question of what occurred, but rather how such an event could possibly unfold within the very architecture of our perceived reality. The implications of an unobserved return, untouched by the relentless currents of time and environmental degradation, ripple outwards, challenging the foundational principles we once held sacrosanct. This singular incident acts as a potent prism, refracting light onto the inherent fragility of our empirical certainties, compelling a re-examination of the very fabric that binds our world together. Drawing these intricate strands of investigation together, we discern a compelling narrative of scientific recalibration. The initial shock of the impossible has gradually given way to a concerted, albeit often disorienting, push against the frontiers of established physics. Our instruments, designed to measure the known, suddenly strain against the edges of an entirely new phenomenon, prompting a re-evaluation of methodologies and a forging of novel theoretical constructs. This isn't just about an isolated incident. It's about the conceptual reverberations that extend far beyond a single location, suggesting a universe far more pliable and mysterious than previously conceived. The very act of attempting to model what should not be has begun to reshape the intellectual landscape, blurring the lines between the plausible and the purely speculative. As the scientific community grapples with these unprecedented challenges, the broader societal consciousness navigates its own shifting terrain. The public's initial bewilderment has matured into a deeper, more pervasive sense of existential wonder, sometimes tinged with unease. This event has inadvertently become a catalyst for profound philosophical introspection, prompting a collective re-examination of humanity's place within a cosmos that seemingly holds secrets capable of upending our most cherished beliefs. It has reignited ancient questions about the nature of time, the persistence of being, and the unseen forces that may subtly govern our existence, moving these inquiries from the abstract halls of academia into the everyday dialogue of millions. The quiet confidence in a fully comprehensible world has been profoundly shaken, replaced by a vibrant, albeit often unsettling curiosity. Underpinning this vast intellectual and societal upheaval lies the enduring human heart of the matter. For those most intimately touched by the original void, the re-emergence of these silent artifacts represents a complex tapestry of renewed anguish and a desperate, fragile hope. It is a poignant reminder that even as the grandest scientific questions are debated, the most fundamental human need for understanding, for connection, remains paramount. The objects themselves, once mere possessions, have become potent symbols of an unresolved tragedy, whispering of lives abruptly interrupted and futures left unwritten. Their inexplicable return serves not as closure, but as an amplification of the profound human yearning for answers, anchoring the abstract scientific pursuit to a deeply personal and emotional core. Thus, as we stand at this juncture, having traversed the labyrinthine corridors of the inexplicable, the path forward beckons with both daunting questions and tantalizing possibilities. The very act of confronting such an anomaly forces us to shed preconceived notions and embrace a more expansive understanding of reality itself. We are left not with simple answers, but with a richer, more nuanced appreciation for the vastness of the unknown and the enduring power of human inquiry in the face of the utterly bewildering. The implications of this quarter-century echo, reverberating through time and challenging the very essence of our knowledge, set the stage for a final consideration of what such profound mysteries ultimately reveal about ourselves and our place in a universe that continually defies easy categorization. The impossible, when it intrudes upon the meticulously charted landscape of our understanding, does more than just confound. It cracks open the very foundations of what we deem real. The saga of the 12 vanished students and their inexplicably returned belongings, 25 years later in the hyper-visible heart of Times Square, is not merely a chilling cold case reawakened. It stands as a profound, undeniable testament to the universe's capacity for phenomena that defy our most sophisticated scientific models and challenge the bedrock of our empirical certainties. It forces us to confront the humbling truth that the cosmos, for all our advancements, remains an infinitely more mysterious and pliable entity than our current paradigms allow, operating on principles that may yet lie entirely beyond our grasp. This event, born from a moment of urban spectacle, has become a global mirror, reflecting the vastness of our ignorance and the limits of our perception. This unprecedented anomaly compels us to step beyond the comfort of established knowledge and embrace a radical intellectual humility. For decades, the rigorous frameworks of physics and cosmology have provided a coherent, if complex, narrative for existence. Yet here, in the most public of arenas, that narrative has been irrevocably disrupted by an occurrence that simply should not be. The pristine condition of objects left to the ravages of time, their unobserved manifestation, and the utter absence of any conventional mechanism for their journey demand a complete re-evaluation of fundamental concepts like causality, temporal linearity, and the very nature of matter. It is a powerful catalyst for scientific recalibration, pushing researchers to explore theoretical realms once considered fringe, to invent new methodologies for investigating the uninvestigable, and to redefine the boundaries of what constitutes an observable fact. Beyond the scientific laboratories and philosophical debates, the event casts a long, unsettling shadow over the human experience. It injects a pervasive sense of vulnerability into the everyday, a subconscious awareness that the predictable order of things can, without warning or reason, simply cease to apply. For the families, the reappearance of these artifacts is a cruel, tantalizing echo, a tangible link to an unbearable absence, yet one that offers no true solace or definitive answers. It embodies the profound intersection of objective mystery and subjective grief, reminding us that even the grandest cosmic puzzles are inextricably linked to the deeply personal agonies of human loss and the relentless yearning for understanding, for connection, for closure that remains perpetually out of reach. Ultimately, this enduring enigma serves as a powerful, unsettling reminder that the universe is under no obligation to conform to our expectations. It is a call to perpetual curiosity, an invitation to gaze into the abyss of the unknown, not with fear, but with a profound sense of wonder. The true legacy of the Times Square anomaly may not be a solved mystery, but rather a permanent shift in our collective consciousness, a recognition that the most extraordinary insights often emerge from the very edge of what we thought was possible. It teaches us that the pursuit of knowledge is not a finite journey towards a complete understanding, but an endless exploration into realms that continuously expand beyond our current grasp. So, as the relentless lights of Times Square continue to blaze, illuminating a world still grappling with this impossible return, we are left with a deeper, more nuanced appreciation for the vastness of what remains undiscovered. The true practice begins now, the practice of questioning our certainties, of embracing the profound mysteries that lie just beyond our current horizon, and of fostering a boundless curiosity that dares to seek answers even when the questions themselves seem to defy the very fabric of reality. For it is in these moments of profound wonder and unsettling ambiguity that humanity's greatest intellectual and spiritual growth truly begins.